Welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Modern Artist. I'm your host, Luke Wynn, and my confession for today, fear of rejection, happy doing everything by myself. Yeah, this is my confessional. 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 First of all, how you guys doing? I'm gonna be honest. The last episodes I recorded, I did all of them in like a 2-day span. So I got the beard going now and everything, like looking good. And I have an audience with me today, by the way. So I'm not just confessing to the camera. I got the illest and King Byron with me. And I kind of want to talk about that in my episode. But before we go into that, I just dropped a new project. It is called Healed. If you haven't heard it, don't be a hater. Go check it out. It's amazing. It's dope. I'm singing. I can sing right now for you guys if you want, but I'd rather you hear the project. So go check it out. We're going to actually talk about that on one of these episodes coming up. So stay tuned for that. Also, if you have been in our Discord, which you have not, I'm trying to get better at it. So if you're trying to connect with us, leave a comment, say something. And I appreciate all the love and support I've been getting. So let's get to the episode. Me and my wife, we've been going through counseling lately, and I started finding out about my temperament just recently. It turns out I am a melancholic, which sounds really depressing, and the majority of it is. But the one thing that our counselor pointed out, she pointed out that I had a fear of rejection. And I was like, no, I don't. And I think that's like a big thing for melancholics. And as I started reflecting on myself and my life, I realized that I have had a fear of rejection in a lot of different areas of my life. And it's come out in different ways. This episode in particular, we're going to talk about just me feeling like I had to do everything on my own. And I feel like the first thing I'll point out is I don't like people telling me no, right? So I hate when people say no. So instead of asking people to do certain things or confiding in people or trusting in others, I had the tendency to just do it myself just because I didn't want to be let down. I didn't want to let them down. So a lot of times in my life, I wouldn't want to put myself out there to be told no, to be told that I wasn't good enough to work with or to be alongside or to follow or to trust in. I think growing up, I think everything in my life that really set up my foundation of who I became or who I would eventually become, it all stems from growing up in Sacramento and just my experiences trying to play the drums. I love the drums so much. I don't know why. From the time I came out my mother's womb, I love the drums. Like, I would play on pots and pans. Like, I would sit there right next to the drummer forever. So the time in my mind where I felt like I was able to actually play was 6 or 7. I have no idea why. I just was so fascinated by it. And I think one thing that put the battery in my back was actually getting a snare and being able to hit it at home and like make beats and stuff like that with it. That gave me the ability to feel like, I was ready for the drum set. A lot of times in life, we kind of rush things, but that had me put myself out there, So every single time I had the opportunity, I would try to hop on the drums. If the drummer's late, I'm getting on the drums, If there's no drummer at all, I'm getting on the drums. Like, I was bold enough to do that. And I would get kicked off every single time in a very humiliating fashion. Like, that's the one thing that I had to come to grips with is like how humiliated I felt at that time in my life. And you just grow up and you get used to that humiliation. You get used to that rejection from people you trust, people you love, people you're confident in, people who you're believing in. You get used to that rejection. And I didn't realize how that seed had been imparted in me to where I felt like I couldn't trust other people with what I was doing or with my gifts or with my vision or my goals because of that rejection that I felt so young in my life. No one ever was looking out for me. No one ever like would say, hey, maybe let them play this time, or I'm struggling through a song No one was like, let's just give him his chance. It just felt like every time, it was always halfway through the song. Like the first song might be good, the second song is too fast, and I'm literally getting kicked off mid-song. And I don't know what's more embarrassing. A 6-year-old who's struggling to play the drums, or halfway through a song, the drumming just stops. The song continues, and then a new drummer gets on. That's crazy. And I would never put my son through that situation. I would never put him in a place where he's on stage being humiliated. I feel like maybe my whole life, had I had someone to get on the mic and be like, let's just, let the people know, like, my son, he's still learning, or all these different things, like, just to make me feel like, yes, clearly I sucked, but you were going to bear with me and you were going to be there for me, And instead I was like, humiliated in public. Dang, that's deep, but yeah, so that kind of just set the tone for the rest of my life, of me just feeling like I supported me, because I'd be crying after I got kicked off the drums and people would be laughing at me, There was no hug, there was no support system like, oh, you'll get them next time. I was getting roasted, Maybe a couple times like I had somebody to go to, but I just remember being by myself, isolated, looking at the new drummer play, and I'm just sitting there crying. And maybe because I cried so much growing up, nobody cared, and it didn't matter. But that sucks. And I think that feeling of feeling like I'm so insignificant to other people that they can just humiliate me and move on with my life and not acknowledge this giant moment, And the thing that sucks is, even if we did have like a car ride of encouragement, what mattered more to that 7-year-old was that moment of, I'm not going to humiliate him. I'm going to, let him finish the song, and then we'll have a new drummer, Anything besides stuff it. I don't think you guys understand how crazy it is. How 2 minutes into a 7-minute song, there's just no drums for like 30 seconds. You hear cymbals moving, drumsticks like clanking and stuff like that, all because one drummer, like, he sucked, So this would eventually lead me to my life of like music. I do everything, right? Mixing, mastering, producing, writing, singing, rapping. Just feel like every single moment in my life, like if I wanted to get better, the only thing people around me could say is, oh, that sucked, or oh, that's good. In a lot of situations growing up, it was really just me. It was only me who believed in me. If I'm being honest, a lot of people did not believe in me. A lot of people didn't believe that I would be a good drummer. A lot of people didn't believe that I would be good at music. A lot of people didn't believe anything. That lack of support and true belief is something that I've always longed for. And it was something that I felt like I never really got growing up. And that's one thing that shaped me to just feel like I had to do everything, I even have a song called I'ma Do It By Myself, It's almost like this anthem of this insecure, rejected kid who feels like I'm going to just do it my way because no one else has the best interest for me. No one else really believes in me. And now that I'm doing a lot more and God is blessing me in a lot of different areas, I'm realizing the need for people, the need for assistance, the need for help, the need for other minds, mentorship, the need for guidance, for other wisdom, other points of views. Like that by myself mentality can only get you so far, but you really can't excel. You can't expand because everything comes on you. And in this season of my life, I'm finally learning to lean on those who are around me. I'm leaning on my wife. I'm feeling her. I'm allowing her to support me. Even in my marriage, I would have this thing like, oh, even if you don't believe in my music, I'm going to still do it, which is fine, right? You don't want your vision to be stifled by someone. But at the same time, when your whole mentality comes from the seeds that were implanted in a 7-8-year-old boy, and that's what you're just going to bring out in a marriage, that's not going to help. And the truth of the matter is, even if I can do it by myself without her support, it feels so much better. It feels like a weight is being lifted off my shoulders. It feels like it's not me. It feels like it's not just me in this, Even with my production team, the illest, King Byron, like Jonathan, like having people who believe in me, it gives me a push to feel like I am, like my vision is valid and the direction that I have actually matters, you know? And it's not just me and it's not me against the world, but now I'm learning to build a team because now it can be we against the world, you know? And I'm really grateful for just the past like 5 weeks have really done a lot because there's been a lot of transitions and changes in my life. The one thing that I'm realizing is doing everything by myself led me into this endless loop of struggle, of success and failures, of bad decision making. There's just a lot of accountability that I was lacking in certain areas in my life, in my career, in my music, in my production, to where not having that accountability and just doing things the way I felt like doing it, like it stifles you. So that was my confession for today. I'm grateful for the fact that I can acknowledge that I did have a fear of rejection, and maybe that's something that does still affect me in certain ways. But right now, like I see myself changing and evolving and I don't want to get into this episode, but my fear of rejection also caused me to be a liar. I would literally, rather than being honest and saying no, or being honest and telling people how I really felt, I would literally just try to I would try to water everything down. I would try to make everything feel easy to digest for other people. So rather than saying, hey, this song is bad, I'll just say, hey, you know, it's not, it has potential. If the song don't have potential, it doesn't have potential, you know? So I'm changing in a lot of ways and I'm grateful for that. But my question for you is, what's your confession? Have you allowed your fear of rejection to dictate your art, to dictate your life, to cause you to make negative decisions, to cause you to just feel like you were all alone? And are you going to continue to live your life like that? Or are you going to be okay with potentially being rejected, but be honest in the fact that we need each other? We need people. We need friends. We need family. You need your spouse, your girlfriend. We need God. Think about that. And I hope that the next time you're here watching this, you're no longer allowing that fear of rejection to feel like you have to be isolated. Yeah, this is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional.